It looks like Warner Bros. Hasn't abandoned the PC after all. The publisher hasn't had a great run with their PC ports in recent times. Last year's release of Mortal Kombat X was not only botched thanks to a poorly planned distribution system, but the port itself suffered bugs, crashes, and an unreliable online service. 2 months later, the PC release of Batman Arkham Knight was nearly a literal car wreck, so much so that Warner Bros. Had to pull the game from Steam for several months before re-releasing it in a semi-functional state. So after 2 high-profile mishaps, it wasn't all that surprising when NeatherRealm quietly omitted Mortal Kombat X's DLC releases earlier this year. The game's second combat pack, which added 4 new characters to the game, including Leatherface and an alien xenomorph, was added to the console versions of the game, but not the PC. Likewise, PC owners were denied Mortal Kombat XL, which compiled all of the game's DLC into a complete collection. It's impossible to determine whether this was a decision by NetherRealm or Warner Bros., but for this year it looked clear that PC gamers were being left out. At least until now. Earlier this week, NetherRealm director Ed Boon released a tweet with a secret message that had all the subtlety one would expect from the guy who created Mortal Kombat. I'll give you a second to work out the elaborate code. Yes, it looks like Mortal Kombat XL is coming to PC after all. In fact, if you act quickly, you can play the Mortal Kombat XL Online Enhanced Beta. The open beta will be available until Monday at 10 AM Pacific, so PC users can get a chance to see what they've been missing for the last 6 months. In Blizzard news, if you ever wanted to share your Hearthstone game with your friends and family, Blizzard now has you covered. New to the Blizzard launcher is a streaming function that lets you connect your account to Facebook and stream whatever Blizzard game you're playing. With just a few clicks, you can set up the rudimentary streaming program and show all of your friends exactly how much time you spend playing video games. Facebook is an unusual choice to launch native streaming, but it does make a little sense. After all, if you're interested in streaming to Twitch or YouTube, you probably already have the software to do it and don't need this. Meanwhile, Facebook, for the most part, comes with a guaranteed audience, and since it's an audience of people who already like you, that lets you stream with a slightly less chance of getting railed by the toxic side of the internet. Hitting theaters this week, we have Morgan. Produced by Ridley Scott, we have a movie about a super creepy psychic girl doing super creepy psychic things. It looks super creepy. And that's about it for movies this week. But coming out on PC, we have a lot of interesting looking games, starting with Black Hole. At first it looks like a typical puzzler with a floating mechanic, but for some reason it also involves shooting a giant neon head. And speaking of shooting things, Assault Suit Lanos is on the way. This game is an HD remake of a Sega Genesis classic known here in the States as Target Earth. The new update looks to have all the classic appeal of an early 90s shooter with some new game modes thrown in for good measure. The final station at first glance appears to look like the video game version of Snowpiercer, but of course, there's zombies. The core gameplay element here appears to be an ongoing quest to scavenge from stop to stop, keeping your passengers alive and your train running, which is kind of a neat take for the survival genre. Also neat looking, we have Four-Sided Fantasy. This game turns the tried and true mechanic of screen wrapping and uses it as the core game mechanic. That's already a pretty interesting gimmick, but the cool art style and music helps a lot too. Likewise, Hue is another puzzle platformer with a gimmick, this time using a color wheel to manipulate the environment. It's not the most original mechanic out there, but again, cool art style and music go a long way here. And while the last 2 games look pretty chill, Talent Not Included appears to be anything but. It still has a cool art style, but this game looks like it centers around throwing as many enemies, projectiles, and chickens as it can fit on the screen. Dawn's Light is this week's obligatory entry from RPG Maker. Solve puzzles, explore dungeon, and use an innovative journal system, whatever that means. Going old school, we have Don't Crawl, which, in spite of its appearance, is a multiplayer game. One player controls the hero while the rest take command of a seemingly innocent enemy or trap. I'm actually kinda curious to see how that works out. Meanwhile, Magenta is straight up blonde Mega Man. But as far as Mega Man clones go, this one seems to be really polished. And for something a little more modern, Ian's Eyes looks really interesting. You play as a dog doing his darndest to lead his human through a school filled with visually impaired horror children. And finally, One Piece Burning Blood. If you ever wanted to see Sir Crocodile beat the hell out of Usopp, this may be the game for you. It's a fighting game with more than 40 One Piece characters, so odds are good that you'll be able to watch the characters you love pound on the characters you aren't so fond of. Wrapping things up with this week's CGBros video, we have Chivalry is Dead from NCCA Bournemouth University. It's the adorable tale of a knight and his cute little dragon. And finally, we have this week's awesome video. She Says put out his most ambitious boundary break video yet, a half hour of hacking the camera in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So check it out if you want to literally look at the classic game in a new way.
Now we're in the boss room of the Fire Temple, and here we have the subterranean lava dragon, Volvagia. But if we were to look from a different angle and view right below the arena, we can find... Yep, that's Volvagia, scrunched tightly before popping up from the crater, waiting for when the cutscene activates its entrance, sort of like a can of snakes popping up on Link.
That's everything for this week, so would you watch me play Overwatch on Facebook? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, pass this video around to your friends, and have a great week.